It's never killed me before, and if it does, it'll only be once.
On a freezing cold day a few weeks ago, PPC got a call from Charlie Broomfield to tell us that he was about to take the 27 litre tank engine out of his Rover SD1. We headed straight over to see him pre-op.
Hi, it's Will, Practical Performance Car, and I'm at Charlie Broomfield's establishment today. Charlie's just pushing this Toyota out of the way so that we can... I'll give him a hand. Charlie's workshop, the front door of which is now open, I can hear. This is the back of an old refrigerated truck, because they're insulated obviously, so it makes a nice warm workshop. So Charlie cut a door in it and set it into the ground here, and if we go around to the front we can see what's in it.
Got to work an equation with the doors here.
Oh, this is the this is the electric door.
It doesn't work.
It's the electric door, which is made out of bits of Stanner stair lift. On the front of this engine, when Charlie got it, it's called a wheel case?
Yeah, it's got a big, like a big gearbox, they call a wheel case, which is cast iron because it was made for the tanks.
Yeah, so they weren't worried about
and it's as much as you can pick up. I think it was made by a company that made manhole lid covers. I mean,
Really?
Yeah, well, wartime, you're stuck, aren't you?
Yeah.
There's no extra capacity. And that was the only bit that was really different in material than the Merlin. Yeah, getting rid of that
meant that Charlie lost the drive,
yeah,
the original drive system that drove the cams, which was a shaft, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was all shafts and gears.
So this cam belt system is entirely...
That's all new. The heads have been cut off in a bandsaw there, and then the valve covers we made, the end bits we made, all that plenum is all made, and then the oil pumps, there's two, and the water pump is all belt driven down there now.
So the reason he wanted to use Merlin cams is obviously because they've got a much more aggressive profile, but the Merlin, believe it or not, span in the opposite direction to the Meteor.
Merlin runs opposite way.
So you had to make a system to make the cams spin in the opposite direction.
And then when you think you've done it, you haven't. You have to turn the cams round the other way. Otherwise the sequencing's wrong. I mean, this is homemade supercharger. Yeah. So the idea was to make a centrifugal compressor. Our ProCharger is all backwards. It doesn't fit. So this is from a Cummins KT19, 19 litre. It's like a dump truck generator engine, yeah, big one. And we knew it was marginal, but the problem is, it's because we only want about 0.5 pressure ratio, and this is made for about 1.7, you're completely off the map. And the efficiency is rubbish, it's probably 60%. So it's taking as much power as it makes.
And this is a turbocharger?
That's the air side of a turbo.
Down here is a gearbox that Charlie's built, which spins it up to 56,000 RPM.
Yeah.
Obviously that's quite a gearbox.
Yeah. Well, you've got...
This engine only revs to 2,500 RPM.
Three flat out, yeah. But in there, behind those plates, there's a big tooth belt pulley that's 3-to-1 to a shaft down there, and then there's another, I don't know if you can see it in there, and then there's about another just over 2.5 to 1, then 2.7 in the gearbox. So it gradually steps it up.
Yeah, what's it like to drive then? Explain drive, because you've offered me to have in it, and I've always said...
You want to pay attention.
Yeah.
All the time. Main reason being that you're resting your foot on the accelerator. That's all you're doing. And if you don't watch the speedo, all of a sudden you're going a lot bloody faster than you think. You know, like you could think, well, I'm doing 70 and you're doing 110, because the engine hardly, it doesn't change note really at all. The other thing is you're sitting that bit further back. So that aerial is the only way I can see that corner. And it's left-hand drive. Now, left-hand drive isn't a problem because I had a left-hand drive car for years. I had a Ford Mustang years ago. One of the things that made it challenging was the fact that the steering was always that bit too heavy, and hopefully this, well, it has, it's made it light as anything.
The electric power.
So, yeah, it's boosting the BMW box.
They've still got hydraulics.
Yeah, because you've got to put oil pressure on those boxes, otherwise they have play in them, because of the spool valve movement. But it's like a bodge, but I can't really change the box. It'd be take the car to bits to do it, which I mean I'd do it. I'm not bloody bothered really. Yeah. I've even made some pullers to get the arm off with the box in situ. And the other thing, the other problem it's going to still have, which is going to be fixed when the engine comes out, is these manifolds that we made up, which look really nice, are leaking all over, and you have to have both the windows open, and it's not good. No. So you definitely want the hood up. And
is that because they've got slip joints?
To be fair, they should have been all right. But when we were first doing pulls on the dyno, and I've no idea why it happened, we didn't have enough advance in, and we were opening it up wide open, and these were glowing bright red, and I thought, well, they're getting a bit hot, really, you know. I mean, you do get about a foot of blue flame out of these, because you never see a Merlin or anything. There's always the blue flames. Yeah. But it's buggered them really, so I'm going to salvage what I can and
get another set of manifolds.
Well, yeah, make some. Incorporate a lifting eye here as well, for when I want to take the engine out.
When you take the engine out, the screen has to come out.
Yeah, screen comes out.
Is this the glass screen now?
Yeah, that's the Rover.
For years it was plastic, wasn't it?
That's an SD screen that's been cut down.
Because it doesn't come down as far as it would.
No.
Because this bit comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah, that all those, under all them little screws, take screen out.
The engine basically comes back to here.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's right back there.
See half of it there. So you're sitting almost where the rear seats were.
Yeah, just about. Well, it would be in your case, wouldn't it? Because when John gets in it to map it, I take the spare wheel out, because he's normal sized. Yeah, that supercharger doesn't work, but what you learn building the gearbox and the lubrication even, and the bearings. Yeah,
because you've got to use special kinds of bearings, haven't you?
Yeah, they're annular contact matched pair on the front end behind the compressor, and they're, I'm going to say they're 120, 130 quid a pair. I mean, they're only like, I think it's 17 mil bore. Right. But they're they'll stand 60k.
Drove it all the way to the Nürburgring.
Yeah. Well,
didn't we work out? It did it because it runs on LPG as well.
Well, it did. It did. Yeah.
Doesn't in its latest iteration, but it did. And it did about the cost of...
It were 15.8 to the gallon.
The thing is, it was actually cheaper to run on that...
Yeah, than the V8.
If it had had over V8 in it.
Yeah, it was, yeah. But this engine, it's got to have some development work, because I'm convinced the valve timing's off.
Right. Let's just go back to when you first had this, because this engine originally had two small fixed jet carburetors.
It normally, a Meteor has... two updraft 43mm choke carbs, so it's got 4 43mm chokes, but putting bigger carbs on doesn't make any more power with the standard Meteor cams. It just means you get the same power at half throttle, because the cams really do restrict them.
Now it's got sequential electronic fuel injection.
Yeah, and that manages the ignition as well,
which again is all custom made.
Yeah,
all this plenum, this is all.
Yeah, it's all, and the porting in the heads which takes forever.
Yeah, it did take. Well, it took about a year.
Yeah, made a flow bench, so we knew what we were doing. Well, so you've got a chance at knowing what you're doing.
Using an old vacuum cleaner, obviously.
Three vacuum cleaner motors. Yeah, 3. And then you have to put a 16 amp plug on because it's drawing a lot of power.
And he made his own Dyno, it's engine Dyno.
Yeah. There's a video of that, and it's still online.
Which used the
Telma retarders.
Out of coaches.
Which is what they use on dynamometers, the CC160s.
I don't know if you've ever seen an old coach that says Telma on the back, but basically it's an electric brake, so that when a coach is going down a long mountain pass or something, it doesn't overheat the brake, it uses electric.
Big ventilated discs, 2 of them, and coils in the middle. It's eddy current. Of course, it hammers the battery.
And every coil, you bought these.
I rewound them, yeah. Yeah, they're all knackered.
Now every coil was knackered, they had to rewind every single one.
Yeah, so it's 32 coils, 280 turns of coil.
A month.
Yeah. Oh, and George standing there with a roll of wire on the axle stands behind me.
Basically, everywhere you look, Charlie's made it. I mean, even the wiper linkage, everything's.
Yeah.
Nothing is standard.
That looks disastrous, but it does work. Yeah.
Years when you had a plastic screen in it, you used to take the screen out and get it MOT with no windscreen.
Yeah, because you got a plastic screen and you put wipers on, you've got no screen anymore. You just
scratch it.
And they scratch like hell.
Well,
I mean,
if you take a car to an MOT with no screen.
They don't test the screen.
They don't test the screen. You can do that. So it's a Ford 9-incher.
It's Ford F-150 pickup truck.
Yeah, there you go.
70s. It's the strong axle. It's got the 31 splines and the big bearings.
The huge advantage is you can get
Oh,
different crown wheel and
yeah, so many different ratios, loads of different centres. I mean, that's a Detroit True Track, so it's a Torrance and torque biasing setup, which is ideal. You know, you don't get any big bang when it doesn't just suddenly lock up.
So it's a bit like a Quaif then?
Yeah, it's got those spiral, non-reversing gears, you know.
And of course, the reason you can use this, because this engine revs at a maximum of 3,000 RPM, which wouldn't work with a standard back axle. And the gearbox is a GM TH400, as you
V12 Jag, yeah.
V8, V12 Jags,
yeah.
Of course, any 1911 things. But in order to get the engine speed up to the sort of revs that gearbox and this axle need, there's an epicyclic gear set.
Which I can show you. There's the one in the boot, which is it's from an Allison
dust cart,
MT643, which is a fire engine dust cart, 4-speed. I mean, they've gone up to a different box now in them, but
so that takes the engine speed and multiplies
2.77. Yeah, about 2.7. Yeah.
So the gearbox and the back axle can just be standard.
Yeah, it's seen a reasonable RPM and torque.
Otherwise, you'd have had to have a...
everybody's done that. Put a truck gearbox in, then, what do you do for back axle? Well, you don't, because you want about 1.5 to 1, which doesn't exist.
So it's an F-150 back axle.
Yeah.
A GM TH400 gearbox, as used in Jag V12, etc. And then at the front there's just a little 27 litre.
Yeah. Which only weighs 600 kilos.
Which is about
so it's not a truck engine.
So you had quite a lot of trouble with the DVLA with this, haven't you? Because sending me back a registration.
Well, they're not. If they see a number that isn't quite right, they think you've made a mistake. So they kept sending the logbook back 2.7, 2,700 cc's, and I think three times, 2 phone conversations before they would actually put So I was a bit concerned. I didn't really mind it being wrong, but I thought, well, if it's wrong and the insurance has a problem with it, whereas Adrian Flux, they were just quite used to that kind of thing. And
they're used to 27 litres.
Yeah, they're used to that. Yeah.
Okay.
And to be honest, the Brente crew it's with now, they don't even bat an eyelid. You know, they just get on with it and insure.
So what's your plan for this now? Because you've got something you want to achieve.
Well, I always thought it'd be nice if we could pull 200 mile an hour, and I think we pulled 187 at Bruntingthorpe with the old engine.
That was unsupercharged.
Yeah, that was just it. Had a bit of porting work. It was fuel injected and electronic management and everything, and
but you ran out of room.
You run out of room. I mean, with the taller rear end, if you'd had room, it would have probably done it. So we went back down to the 3-to-1 rear end, but then once these engines as standard get to about 2500, that's it. They just stop. They will take. They make less power the harder you rev them, because of the pumping losses. Cams are no good. Cams are just made to hold the revs down, and that's what they did.
So you think that you've got a new supercharger planned, haven't you?
Well, if we could get the parts, if we can get the parts and I can package it, yeah.
You've got to make a new gearbox to drive.
You've got to make a new gearbox, and the supercharger's going to end up in front of the radiator with the drive shaft under the rad, because there's no way it's going to fit there under the bonnet.
Because houses.
Well, it's this is a 127mm compressor wheel, and the one I'm looking at is 193.
It's a lot more here.
So it's going to be 2 inches bigger diameter on the casing at least. And it's only got to run about 40,000 RPM, so that's nice as well.
Well, I'm sure we'll be back soon to check on your progress, Charlie.
The next thing is when the weather gets better, the engine's going to come out, it's going to go on the dyno, we've got to develop it a bit more.
Well, I'm sure we'll be back to see that.
Sorry it's so boring, but...
That's not boring at all.
It is to most people, I'm sure.
Right, we're all frozen now, we'll pack it up, shall we?
Yeah, let's put it away and call it a day, huh?
Yeah.